Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
Since opening our doors in 1904, Builtwell Bank has existed to be the local economic engine for the communities we serve. No matter if you're buying a car, saving for retirement, or finally buying that forever home, Builtwell Bank is here to help. From personal checking and savings accounts to a full suite of business and commercial banking with treasury management services, we'll make sure you'll have a dedicated Builtwell banker that understands your unique needs and stands by you every step of the way. No matter where you are in Tennessee or Northwest Georgia, there's likely a Builtwell Bank location nearby. Come see us and let our dedicated financial team help you with all of your banking needs. Member FDIC.
At C&B Linen, fast, friendly, and reliable service is our promise to you. Because you're not just a customer, you're family. From multi-use linen to branded floor coverings and a complete range of cleaning supplies, C&B Linen is here to make sure you have everything you need. From our high-quality products to our fast, friendly, and reliable service, you'll experience the difference with C&B Linen. Because you're not just a client, you're part of our family. You'll be winning with C&B Linen.
Got a dent, a ding, a scratch, or a bent fender? Major or minor, Car Country Collision Center in Leoma can fix you up. Car Country works with all insurance carriers, gives free estimates, can work on foreign and domestic vehicles, and has experience you can trust. They've been in business since 1990. Unfortunately, accidents happen, but you can get your car back on the road with as little hassle as possible with the help of Car Country. Call 931-852-4708 or stop by at 2567 Highway 43 South in Leoma.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome into this Friday edition of Mark My Words, the college sports show here on the X Sports Network. I'm your host, Michael Marks, and it's Friday. So Friday means two things, previews and predictions, and we got a great weekend slate of football going on this weekend. But first, we're actually going to recap the Thursday night game. We had Wake Forest and NC State facing off last night in a ACC conference game. It was actually a pretty high-scoring game between the two teams, 34-24, a big win for NC State. And they looked really good. C.J. Bailey, 23 of 32 for 201 yards and 3 touchdowns. Their running back Smothers is a workhorse, 24 carries, 164 yards, no touchdowns, but did just enough to get the win over the Demon Deacons. And Wake Forest got out to a huge lead, took a kickback, scored 2 touchdowns in the first 6 minutes of the game, got up 14-0. NC State was able to come back and tie it up at 14 before the end of the quarter. Halfway through the second quarter, Wake Forest got another double-digit lead, going up 24-14, and then just like that, by the middle part of the third quarter, NC State had come back and tied it and was able to tack on another touchdown and a field goal there in the fourth quarter to take that one 34-24. And now we'll move on to an interesting game that nobody here thought we'd be talking about, but a big upset went down in Valparaiso last night as Division III Adrian College, a private liberal arts school from Michigan, took down Division I FBS Valparaiso on the road last night, 10-7. Its quarterback Noah Boudry hit wide receiver Ethan Aberger for the go-ahead touchdown with 26 seconds remaining. Adrian hasn't won more than 6 games in a season since 2015. This win is hopefully a sign of good things to come this year as they took their opener. Valparaiso, on the other hand, is working on trying to bring some good mojo out of their program. They've only one winning season since 2005. Quickly, we'll jump into the games that actually have going on tonight. We have a Big 12 conference game going on between Colorado and Houston. That one at Houston, 6:30 kickoff on ESPN. Interesting situation going on in Colorado with their starting quarterbacks, Caden Salter and Julian Lewis. Neither of them getting the nod, as Ryan Staub actually going to be getting the start tonight for Colorado. They've dealt with some things, but Staub looks like a pretty solid option, and after starting as the third stringer this year, he has made a heck of a jump. And then another game that you would think is a Big 12 conference game, but actually is not. You have Kansas State at Arizona at 8 o'clock on Fox. This was one of those games that was previously scheduled before all the conference realignment happened 2 seasons ago, and they decided to let the game stick. So Kansas State at Arizona tonight on Fox, not a Big 10 or a Big 12 conference game, but an interesting game nonetheless, because this was expected to be a pretty highly touted matchup. Kansas State has not fared well this year and are a late touchdown against an FCS team away from being 0-3. They started off with the loss in Germany to Iowa State, barely scraped by North Dakota, and then lost to an Army team who has already lost to an FCS team this year. Not a good start to the season for Kansas State, but good news that they do get their running back. Dylan Edwards is expected to be available tonight, and that's been huge for them. They've missed him the first 3 games of the season, and 111th in FBS and rushing, and then Arizona hasn't allowed over 100 yards on the ground all season. So this does look like a game that will favor the Wildcats. My picks for these 2 games, I'm going to go with Houston, picking up a big Big 12 win at home, and same with Arizona there. Just looks like they got a little bit too much for the Wildcats. We'll start the morning slate on Saturday. We got number 12 Clemson going on the road to Atlanta to face Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, a very dangerous team. A very close spread on this game. Only Clemson is favored by only 3 points now. It was 3.5 yesterday. And this Clemson offense has just not looked explosive at any point this year. They dropped the first game to LSU 17-10, and then took late, second half heroics to take down Troy last week at home. So Clemson has not looked good at home, going on the road for a tough test against a Georgia Tech team that, while hasn't looked, mind-blowing, are still a very good team, that have gone on the road and beat Colorado, have a big win at home against Gardner-Webb, so they're going to really get a chance to introduce themselves to the country in that game right there. An interesting one to look at, Oklahoma, number 13 Oklahoma is going on the road to play at Temple in Philly. That's also at 11 on ESPN. Oklahoma coming off a big win against Michigan. They looked dominant on both sides of the ball. Only thing that Michigan could get going was a slight bit of, a little bit of a run game from Justice Haynes, but nothing other than that. This Temple team, though, 2-0, has got 2 big wins on their schedule. They've, not necessarily against big teams, but they took down UMass 42-10 on the road in week 1. Then they hosted Howard, took them down 55-7. So a team that's put up points and not given up a lot of points. If there's a chance for a sneaky upset tomorrow, I'm going to say it's this one. We saw number 13 Florida lose at home last week to Southern Florida, so I wouldn't be surprised if this one is a little closer than you would imagine. Also going on at 11 on ABC, we have Wisconsin going on the road to face Alabama. Alabama is favoring the spread minus 20.5. So obviously Vegas is very confident in Alabama, but this Wisconsin team, it's interesting. They're 6th in the country in defense, points allowed so far. Only allowed 5 points a game through 2 games. So their defense has been great. Alabama, on the other hand, 50th. They've allowed 15.5 points a game. It was a shutout last week against ULM, but where things really separate themselves on the offense. Alabama, 45 points a game. Wisconsin barely getting the 30. They're throwing the ball for over 300 yards a game, and they're +4 in turnover differential, where Wisconsin is sitting at 0. So I think this is maybe a sneaky game, but Wisconsin missing their starting quarterback. Alabama, questionable if Jam Miller and Tim Keenan III will be available, but I would assume that they would probably save them for that game at Georgia. I don't think Wisconsin's really anything to worry about for Alabama, but we said that about Florida State, and look what happened. So definitely keep an eye on that one, but if you're going to watch a game in the morning slate, I would definitely keep my eyes on Clemson and Georgia Tech. Now to the afternoon slate, we'll start with the backyard brawl, Pitt at West Virginia, 2:30 on ESPN. Should be a good one. These two teams do not like each other one bit, and AJ's producing for me right now. AJ, do you like Pitt one bit?
No.
No. Pretty simple.
All city smells like hot dog water.
Exactly.
The food's great, but that's the only thing about it. It's
So
dumb,
Pitt-
traffic, you have to take a train into the city. Who does that crap?
So yeah, not a big fan of, definitely no love lost between these teams. Pitt 7.5 point favorite right now, and West Virginia took a tough loss last week, and it's a new week. It's a rivalry. These two teams do not like each other. I would expect it to be a great one. They're at 2:30 on ESPN, and now we're going to talk about a football game that's on the CW because they picked a great game. They got South Florida, number 18 in the country, will be going just down the road to Miami, to Coral Gables actually, to face Miami there at Hard Rock. I mean, crazy that this is a ranked matchup, but South Florida, the only team in the country with 2 ranked wins right now, looking for a third. I think they've run out of pixie dust, though. They've been able to out-tough Boise. They've been able to out-tough Florida. But Miami, man, sometimes people give them a lot of crap because Mario Cristobal has had his moments, and not good ones at that. Last year had probably their best roster in probably since the Larry Coker days, and couldn't make it to the playoffs. Lost in a heartbreaker to Syracuse. Lost to Georgia Tech that year as well. But this year, man, they got they have some dogs on defense, and they were able to push around Notre Dame in a big game in week 1. So I don't think that fares well for South Florida. I believe the spread's set at 17.5 on this one. I would take Miami to cover pretty comfortably. I think this is going to be one of those where, looking back, it's like, why did we think this was going to be a close game? It's got blowout written all over it. I would love for this story to keep going with South Florida, but I think Miami is probably just got a bit too much talent for them in this one. And now the big game, the college game day game. You got Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit on the call. Number 6 Georgia on the road to face number 15 Tennessee. A very interesting matchup going on in Knoxville because these are two teams that. This game's very important in the grand scheme of things in the SEC because it's going to give a lot of teams a gauge at where they're at. Georgia's offense has looked anything, well, I'm not going to say anything but spectacular, but it hasn't been great. 45 points against Marshall, 28 against Austin Peay in a game where Gunnar Stockton threw the ball 34 times against Austin Peay. I don't think he'll hit that number against Tennessee. I think Georgia's going to try to run the ball. But yardage-wise, I mean, Tennessee's 4th in the country in points right now, 74th in points allowed, where Georgia is not. So Georgia's defense is still Georgia, but I mean, Tennessee's 2nd in the country in yards at 605 a game. Georgia 36th at 454. Georgia's actually minus in the turnover differential this year. So, I think turnovers in the run game are going to be where this game's decided. Georgia's got some offensive linemen banged up. Tennessee as well had some offensive linemen banged up, but both teams have a good running back room. The pass game will play a huge factor. We haven't seen Gunnar Stockton really test in the pass game, down the field. We have seen Joey Aguilar, though. He's made some great deep throws. But the defenses and the pass game will definitely tell a lot in that one. As the spread's actually moved a little bit back towards the favor of Georgia. It was minus 7.5 to start the week, went down to as low as 3.5, I believe, on Wednesday. Now back up to 4.5. So we'll go through my picks for these games. South Florida, Miami, I got Miami. I just think the Hurricanes a little bit too much on that one. And I'm not just saying this because you're my producer, AJ. I got West Virginia in the backyard brawl. I like Pitt's got some talent, but I just feel like it's a team that's really controlled by Eli Holstein, their quarterback, transfer from Alabama. Talented, but I just don't know if he's got enough weapons around him. West Virginia, they're going to run the ball. Rich Rod, I mean, they've made that very apparent, and I just think that they're going to be able to control the line of scrimmage and handle Pitt. And then the big one, Georgia, Tennessee. I am a Tennessee graduate. I am going to pick Tennessee. It's been since 2016 since Tennessee's had a win over Georgia. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game this one. I think like a 17-14, 17-13. That would be the only way Tennessee could win because they haven't put up more than 17 points against Georgia since they beat them in 2016. Now we'll move on to the night slate. Arkansas at Ole Miss. That one's at 6 o'clock on ESPN. A very entertaining one. There's going to be 1 billion points scored in this one because neither one of these defenses could stop a nosebleed. You're going to get two very exciting quarterbacks in Austin Simmons and Taylon Green. I think Ole Miss is going to be able to get one more stop than Arkansas can. But Austin Simmons has had a bit of a turnover problem early in the season. I'm not sure if that'll hurt Ole Miss in this game, but if there is a chance that his turnovers could cost them a game they shouldn't, it would be this one. Florida at LSU in the Swamp, 6:30 ABC. Florida coming off a loss to South Florida. LSU coming off pretty much a loss at home to Louisiana Tech. Did not look good at all. They're number 3 in the country, have a Heisman candidate at quarterback, and don't really feel comfortable yet. It's a strange phenomenon, but I'll tell you, Blake Baker has got an absolute menace of a defense at LSU, and Florida's offense has looked sluggish at best. DJ Lagway has not really impressed anybody. Jaden Ball has been a decent running back, but they're going to need to really expand that passing game. This one at the Swamp, in Death Valley, I think it favors LSU in this one. The night game on NBC, Texas A&M, number 16, heading on the road to try to get back against number 8, Notre Dame. It's weird that we see Notre Dame 0-1. They had a tough loss at week 1 against Miami. But their offensive line got pushed around. They couldn't run the ball. It was completely different Notre Dame from what we're used to. Last year, they were run the ball and defense. This year, it's throw the ball and no defense. So, this was a 23-13 slugfest last year. I think we're going to see some points in this one. I would probably take the over on this one. I just think neither one of these defenses has proved that they can stop anything yet. And both of them have showed really, really good flashes on offense. I think KC Concepcion with Texas A&M is a huge piece, and I'm intrigued to see how Notre Dame will try to get Jeremiah Love involved in this one. What I think could be the game of the week, Vanderbilt at South Carolina, 6:45 kickoff on the SEC Network. Both these teams have a common opponent so far, Virginia Tech. One of them beat them 24-11. One of them won on the road 44-20. And the team that won on the road 44-20 is not the ranked team in this matchup. Vanderbilt coming off a huge win last week at Virginia Tech. South Carolina looked less than impressive against South Carolina State. This is definitely a trap game. South Carolina does need to watch out because this Vanderbilt team is not the same one from last year. This is the same team from last year, but more talent. They still got the swagger. They still got the moxie. They still got the confidence. And now they have more talent. So I would say watch out for Vanderbilt. But a night game at South Carolina is not easy. You can ask anybody that watched that Texas A&M game last year, the Tennessee game 3 years ago. It's a tough one to go to. A game that I didn't realize was on the slate for this week, Duke at Tulane. Duke had a huge prove-it game last week with Illinois and failed the test is probably worse than any Duke student has ever failed a test. 45-19, got absolutely dominated through the air by Luke Altmaier, and their quarterback's got to go on the road and face his old team, Darian Mitza, quarterback at Duke, transfer from Tulane, got around $4 million in NIL, so he's got a lot to prove going back home. And this Tulane team, they've played one power conference opponent in Northwestern and absolutely smoked them. So I'd say watch out for Tulane because those boys in New Orleans are scrappy. And the nightcap, Minnesota at Cal, 9:30 on ESPN. One that you wouldn't think would be a great game, but 2-2-0 teams that, and it's a non-conference matchup, Big Ten, ACC. And listen, I mean, Minnesota's looked good, Cal's looked good. These are two very good defenses, two very good offenses. I think you're primed for a good one there in Berkeley, but I would pay attention, though. Minnesota having to go on the road, traveling over 2 time zones. We saw statistics from that last year. Most of those teams did not fare as well. So my picks for the night slate, I'm going to go Ole Miss over Arkansas in a high-scoring game. I think I'm going to take LSU over Florida in a low-scoring game. So, I think really down to the end, this one's going to be close. I'm going to take Notre Dame. I think that they're going to have a convincing win over A&M. I just don't know if A&M has seen a team like Notre Dame physicality-wise this year, and they haven't matched up well against UTSA and Utah State. So I just think Notre Dame is going to be better prepared, especially coming off a bye week. I'm going to take Vanderbilt over South Carolina. I really think that they got the confidence to go in and win this game. I think Diego Pavia, this is a revenge game for them. They did not look good against South Carolina last year, and the Gamecocks have won 16 in a row against Vanderbilt. So I think we're going to see a start of a new streak there. I'm going to take Tulane at home against Duke. Those New Orleans boys are rowdy. Jake Retzlaff has been an incredible addition for Tulane. Coming in during, I believe, in the middle of June, middle of July, had about 6 to 8 weeks with this team, and has them looking like a very serious Power 5 or Group of 5 playoff team. And then I'm going to go with Cal over Minnesota. I just like Cal's defense, and I think that they're going to be an interesting team in the ACC. People didn't see a lot of them. They lost their quarterback from last year. They lost their running back from last year, but still a very interesting team. So that will do it for episode number 2, this Friday edition of Mark My Words here on the X Sports Network. We got a lot of interesting games to watch tomorrow, and we'll break those down on Friday. So for Michael Marks, this has been Mark My Words. I'll see you on Monday.
going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.